you, Debbie. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's take a few minutes to quiet ourselves and center ourselves. Let us say together, lead us, O Lord, very slowly and deliberately. Lead us, O Lord, from darkness to light, from the unreal to the real, from death to immortality, from chaos to beauty. Welcome to our second seminar of Other Worlds, Stepping into the Teaching. This is going to be a wonderful 3-hour presentation on the various aspects of the other worlds. So today's first lesson is Class 201, Lesson 4, and it's titled The Subtle World and Departed Ones, taken from Chapter 8 of Other Worlds. I'm going to cover how do we frequent the other worlds. That's the first part. And then who or what frequents the various levels of the other worlds. And we will start with the etheric plane and then go to the lower astral, the higher astral. And then we will also discuss briefly what is purgatory and then what is devakan or devahan, as it's pronounced sometimes. And I will read different parts from the chapter in Other Worlds. So if you have your book, have it be handy, and I'll tell us which page we'll be reading. So during this hour, we are going to discuss what are the inhabitants of what we call the lower worlds, of the higher worlds. So let's look at this map here. Let me see, higher mental, etheric. Yes, this is good. So we are going to see who inhabits this subtle first layer that is the closest to our physical world. Then we will talk about who and what inhabits this lower astral, middle, and higher. This is all we're going to cover today. This first hour. So it is really important for us to know who inhabits and what inhabits these levels so that we can keep a very clear mind about the higher worlds and not be enamored or glamored by different fabrications that float around about mediums and channels and psychic readings and all of that. It's very important for us to have a clear, lucid understanding of what exists in the higher worlds. This is written by an author, Torkum, who was able to go to these higher worlds and really understand what exists there. So it's very, very clear, very beautiful. And so as I'm going through the information, think about your own responsibility in understanding these levels of existence and what does that mean to you, okay? So the first thing we're going to realize is on a daily basis we have frequented the higher worlds. You might not think about it, but you have. So let's take our etheric body, for example. You have your etheric body, which is the energy body surrounding your physical. And if you've ever gone somewhere and not liked it or liked it, you've energetically felt the energy that's surrounding that area, or if you've ever been with someone that you are attracted to or with someone that you think, nah, I don't like that feeling that I'm getting, or if you've ever bought any jewelry or been given jewelry or furniture or clothing that just didn't work for you, then you have gone there with your etheric body. Does that make sense? All of you have had these experiences, and I want you to know these things and bring it down to your life, because we don't have to have this glamour that only these special people can touch these higher worlds and we can pay them hundreds of dollars to give us readings and things. Okay, so every day you have these experiences. You've been there. You know what it's like when you feel icky or you feel happy, and there's no verbal way that you can define that. So that's the first thing. Have you ever gone somewhere emotionally? Somebody's upset or happy and it's infectious. You immediately feel it. Or something disastrous happens somewhere in the world and you feel it. Somebody gets promoted or gets given a wonderful gift and you're happy with them. Have you ever clicked in emotionally with anything going on in the world? Of course you have. Have you ever woken up from a nightmare and you think, where was I last night? Certainly didn't like where I was, right? You were there. You were hooked in somewhere in the emotional body of the universe, because our body, our emotional body, also corresponds to the emotional body that's around us, of the planet, our plants, our animals, our friends, our loved ones. Okay? Now, have you ever listened to a lecture, read something, heard something, and you immediately clicked in mentally? And you went, yes, that makes sense. Yes, that's true. Yes, I like that. So that means in your mind, in your mental body, you went to that rare place of the mental plane. You know that. Sometimes 1 minute like this and it clicks in. You read a book, you see a video, you hear a lecture or a few words and you think, yes, that makes sense. Have you ever had that experience? Of course you have. So you can see that even with your mental body, you have gone somewhere with it. And sometimes we have been places where we don't want to go there. Okay, so you have to remember that too, so that you can discern that if there are places I can go to that I enjoy and like, there are also places that I don't want to go there. And the underlying reason for this lecture is for us to know how we go places where we want to be and how to avoid places we don't want to be. Okay, and you have complete control on yourself to be able to do that once you know that you have the facility in you already. Now let's go to another level with your heart and soul. Have you ever connected to something or a person or a teaching or a condition or a profession with your heart and soul, and you know without logic or reasoning that that's the right thing for you? Yes? Yes, of course we have. So that means somewhere in your depth of your truth, of your heart, of your soul, you have connected to something that is eternal, beautiful, and I want you to remember that. Okay? So in this process of studying, meditation, listening to lectures, that's the underlying message that I want to give you, is go deep in yourself, and you have the correspondence of the higher worlds inside of you, all of them. And for you to make a choice to lift yourself to as high a level as you can, so that you can enjoy the radiation and the vibration and the atmosphere of that rare place where you want to be, right? So this is within your energy and your power to do that. Now, we remember that we go to places depending on our frequency, on our interest, on our focus at that time. We can be sublime, beautiful, intellectual people, and if somebody really gets us emotionally, we forget that higher sublime place and we go somewhere else where we don't want to be. Do you see that? We've all done that. And you think, where was I going? How come I did that? Well, something inside you triggered that frequency and you went to that place that you really maybe are ashamed of, or that's really you. You know, it's not really you, and you don't want to be in that kind of space. So we have these frequencies, and we have to understand that your physical body has a frequency, etheric body has a frequency, emotional body has a frequency, your mind has a frequency, your soul has a frequency, and as a disciple, your responsibility and your job is to bring everything together into one frequency that's governed and led by your essence, your soul. Okay, so you're going to take all these parts and bring them into harmony, into that one voice, that one harmony, so everything responds to that call of your own heart and soul inside of you. Okay? Now, what are the different ways that we go to the higher worlds besides these momentary, quick in and out periods? Okay, there are other ways that we can actually go to the higher worlds. And the first one that I talked about is in our waking consciousness, waking periods, a momentary link to something that vibrates at the same frequency that we do. Okay, that's momentary. Okay, and we're fully awake. We can also go to the higher worlds during our meditation. What kind of meditation is the question? If you are just chanting mantras and at the same time imagining all kinds of things, where are you? It doesn't help. You see, if you're just trying to be quiet and all kinds of thoughts are coming in, where are you? If you're taking a seed thought of a high level thinking and you expand on that, the seed thought meditation that we've been taught and that expands your mind, then where do you go? So in your meditation, you know sometimes when you sit in meditation, you have this deep insight. Have you ever had that? That deep insight, and you think, wow, that was so beautiful. And there are times where nothing comes in. So you can see that you have that capability during meditation to focus and to go to a place where you need to go. And we'll see sometimes a little bit later how a deliberate focus will take us to places where we can go and help and be helpers in. We can also go to any place in the higher worlds through contemplation. That is a very high level meditative practice where you become one with that place where you are meditating on. I want to understand, for example, how flowers work, so I become one with the flowers. I want to understand how to resolve this problem. I become one, and I identify with all the players in it and understand how it plays out. Okay, it's a very deep at one-ment. We also can go to the higher worlds through the death of our physical body. We leave the physical body behind and we travel to these different planes in our etheric body, astral body, mental body, and so on, depending on what is most formed and what is most stable so that it can withstand that place. Okay? So there are times where we will flit in and out. But what is the most stable place where we can be depends on the stability, integrity of the body, the one that is in most control of your life. We can also go to the other worlds during surgery. We've heard of near-death experiences, right? During surgery, people have had out-of-body experiences. Medical doctors have talked about that, written about that. It happens. So this is very real. Where do they go? It depends. It depends with what body they're going and how they can sustain it and what they come back with. And remember, during shocks, crises, deeply hypnotic states, where something really huge happens to you and you go into a shock and you are able or accidentally go to another place. We can go to the higher worlds through accidents, any kind of out-of-body experiences. During wars, for example, during crises, during huge fear, people are sometimes inadvertently kicked into the higher worlds, temporarily maybe, or sometimes they enter permanently into some level and they get stuck there, okay, in their consciousness. Now another way we can go to the higher worlds is when we develop what is called continuity of consciousness. That means with one foot you are in the higher worlds, anywhere you want to be. The other foot you are conscious, operating in the physical plane. You're doing your work, take care of your family, your professional, or whatever work that you're doing in. This is really a heightened sense of consciousness that we all aspire toward. Because in that state of continuity of consciousness, we are able to bring the wisdom and the treasury of the higher worlds to our everyday experiences. Everyday experience is such a beautiful state that I think we all aspire toward. Another way that people go to the higher worlds in their consciousness, either temporarily or permanently, is through mass upheavals, disasters, global events where people are hooked into that emotion or that event. Okay? So these are very, very important. And also the good part is, for example, if you've ever gone to an art exhibit, music, symphony, beautiful artistic show, and you're just uplifted. Have you ever felt that? You come home and you're just a different person. Your mind is still in that music and that art and that beauty in that museum or that place that you visited. So you could see that these things really have an impact on us. So let me give a little footnote here. If these things have an impact on us, how much do you have to choose where you want to go? in your physical world even, in your thoughts, in your feelings. Do you see how you have a responsibility to choose? And it's really important when we look at what exists in these higher worlds, we must develop the responsibility and the ability to choose. Okay? So we go places where we want to go. Another, last but not least, way we go to the higher worlds is through during periods of intense prayer. Okay? Intense prayer, rituals that really are meaningful for you, deep joy and deep celebrations. For example, the time you got married, the time your child was born, the time you celebrated something just fantastic, your child's wedding, for example, the time you were promoted. These are times that can uplift you and take you to places that is more than mundane. Okay, so with these examples, I wanted you to be very aware that the higher worlds are not just an academic information. They're not just something that somebody else does who's a psychic and who charges you $99 for 2 hours or whatever. It's not something that only teachers and gurus and holy ones go. It's yours. It's where we inhabit. Okay? I want to take the mystery out of it and have it be you. It's part of your life, part of your legacy. You are building the higher worlds. It's not somewhere that has nothing to do with you. You are building it with everything that you're doing. Does that make sense? You are building everything in all the worlds with your choices and your life and the words and your thoughts and your emotions. Every minute you are part of the building and creative process. Isn't that beautiful? So let's look first. What inhabits what is called the etheric plane, and that is the closest to the physical plane. And let's go to your page 73. This is really a beautiful chapter, Subtle Worlds and the Departed Ones. So we want to see what is the closest, and you can see immediately in your mind, it's a place of transit, and it's also a place where people get stuck. In all these different ways that I mentioned, depending on how you correspond to that vibration. So what is the vibration of this? It's the closest to the material world, and we can see, look at this, what is in these levels, page 73. Those who committed suicide, they're the closest to the physical world. Now, when we read these, we're not condemning any of these souls. It's just unfortunate that all of us end up in places where we don't want to be. So what is that state of mind of a person who commits suicide, who ends up in this place, and how much help they need? Okay, how much help they need. And again, part of our responsibility is not only to strengthen and bolster ourselves, but to be able to serve and help others, okay, in or out of the world. Earthbound souls, people who have addictions, compulsions, really attached to their family. This is one of the reasons why you see when people depart from this earth, for us to do special ceremonies and rituals to release them. Okay, release them. They no longer belong to us. Okay, they are now part of the universal soul. As hard as that is when we lose a loved one, this is very important in the Asia's Wisdom teachings to go through these rituals to release them, to go on with whatever it is that they need to do in their life. People killed instantly in wars or accidents sometimes get stuck here for a little bit. Through our prayers, our meditations, our readings, our good words, we can help them. So when you see and encounter a huge disaster in the world, right now people are killing each other, doing all kinds of atrocities. Part of our work can be to pray, to release people who are stuck in these lower planes. Do you see how much work there is to be done? It's really incredible how much work there is to be done with sane and balanced people. We don't want to go to these planes and say, am I going to get a job tomorrow? Will I get married? Will my child be a boy or a girl? Or these silly nonsense that people are involved in. We want to release people. That's what we want, okay? People who deny immortality or life after death. Isn't that interesting? They could end up in that level. So if you know people who are materialistic and they just deny life after death, after they leave, their soul is free. Pray for them. Okay? Pray for them. Say, now that you're free and you're not stuck to this plane, go, release yourself. Go to the higher worlds and experience, so when you come back, you have a different enlightened experience about what goes on in the world. Do you see how much work you can do? Cannibals and people who have committed murder and atrocities, this is really interesting. They get stuck to that separative level of the physical plane. Certain animals, when they die, they go to that level. And you can see sometimes when animals are ready to die, they're already in the other worlds, either in etheric or astral. They're just ready to do that. So they go there. Reflections of disastrous events occurring in the world. This is very important for us to think about, okay? Reflections of disastrous events occurring in the world. When disastrous events occur in the world, that is the last step to the manifestation of something disastrous that's happening in the higher worlds. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not just that this person is against this person and wants to kill this person. It came from somewhere. Some thought form, some being, some dark force, some obsessive compulsive disorder pushed this action into manifestation. Do you see that? I want you to think about this, because the study of the other worlds is not just one layer, one surface. We have to go beneath and behind it, so that when we see what's going on politically, socially, personally, psychiatrically, we have to, of course, take care of the symptom, but that's just a symptom. We can't just put a Band-Aid on it. In order to heal life, we have to go to the cause as much as possible. It's the same on planetary scale as it is on our personal scale. If you have a problem, yes, stop the bleeding, but then go to the cause. What caused that to happen? What caused me to feel that way? What caused me to think that way? What caused me to say what I said? Good or bad? If it's good, I want to duplicate that and know where it came from, so I can really have a good control over it. Okay? Do you see what I'm saying? It's very, very important to remember what is behind these. So when there are disastrous events happening in the world, there's a whole layers of causes behind it. And in our marketing and media, everybody's concerned with the patch on the skin on the outside. But real statesmen, real politicians, real disciples are thinking of what caused this and how can we take the steps needed to heal this that may not be so popular. See? May not be so popular. So this is really important for us to consider, and consider it, for example, from financial fears, health fears, Ebola, for example, infectious diseases, terrorism, whatever it is. What caused these things? What caused them, so that we can take the right step as disciples in different fields of human endeavor to make sure that these things are healed systemically. Okay? Let me ask you a few questions now to consider and ponder on. Think about these levels, this etheric plane that I talked about, and ask yourself, do I want to be there? You might say, yes, I have a service to perform. Or no, I don't want to be there, that's not where I want to be. So these are questions you're going to ask yourself, because there's something you can do. Can I function there and be of any help? Maybe. And if so, how do I get ready? Okay? Because we're not disciples just to study and feel good about ourselves. We're disciples because we want to work, right? We want to do something. Third question, how can I train to do so at some time in my life? Maybe not this life. Maybe this life I just start that consciousness. Maybe I can do little things. Maybe I can help in little ways. Or I'm very capable. I'm able to meditate and focus. Maybe I can do more. Okay, how do I train? What kind of armor do I need in order to be impermanent in that state? So if this is the kind of people you're going to find, it's like going to a high drug-infested crime area in the city. Can you go there? Can you be safe? Can you help? Okay? So it's not a glamorous job, and it's not for people who say, oh, I'll do it. It's for people who are really know the ramifications of being in that state. Okay? And be able to exit when you need to. Okay? Number 4, what assistance, if any, can I give to lower level inhabitants? And only you know that. Maybe if one person who passed away I can give assistance to. Okay. Anyone. Okay? So these are questions for you to think about. Now let's go to the astral plane, divided into 3 sections. The lower, the middle, and the higher astral plane. Each has very distinguishing characteristics. Let's read on page 73 what is in the lower plane of the astral world, a place we certainly don't want to go unless it's a deliberate time that we want to do some help. Habitat of drunkards, addicted people, drug users, traitors, criminals, selfish and greedy people, those who are separative and destructive to right human relations. Do you see that? It's a criminal element that's there. Deliberate criminal element. Those who are full of hatred, anger, revenge, slander, malice. Those who exploit people and sell their souls to Satan. Those who are fanatic, animalistic, pleasure-seeking. And this place is full of groaning. The places where we've heard in many paintings, for example, we've seen. In poetry and ancient poetry we've read the moanings and the groanings of the places where people who are condemned go, right? Well, that's what it is. It's a lower astral plane. Do we want to go there? Certainly not, unless we can do something that's of service there. Okay? It's really a jungle that we have to be careful. Can we end up there momentarily? Yes. When you plug into that energy of hatred and separatism, when you feel like you're addicted to something that you say, I can't help it, look at what you're doing. It's very, very serious for disciples. Okay, this lecture is not for everybody. It's for people who want to really confront themselves and look at themselves. Do you really want to go there? No, you want to clean up all these things, even in small scale, so there isn't even a little thread that would bring us to that place. That when we leave our physical body, we can just keep transiting, going to the higher worlds. This is the optimum that we want. Okay? Now let's go to some of our responsibilities. Some of our responsibilities to ourselves and others before we go to sleep. What are you thinking? What have you eaten? What have you drunk? What have you done? What TV shows have you watched that will put that radiation in you that will take you to some of these places you don't want to go? Okay? After you get up, start your day. What do you say? How do you start? Are you just complaining? Or do you start with prayers and meditations and gratitude to be able to be alive again another day and serve another day? You see, so your vibration, you're adjusting it. If you get up in a sour mood, I don't like where I was, then adjust it. Don't keep continuing that vibration. This is a deep responsibility for us. Do not give ammunition to dark forces by the things that you do and think. Okay? Dark forces don't just go to anybody, they go to people who have that same vibration. Okay? When we are irritated, disturbed, confused, and fear, that's when the dark forces can plant little seeds of doubt and fear in us. That's why you want to take charge and say, I may not have slept right last night. I may be feeling really not so good this morning, but it's another day. I want to change that vibration. So this is important. ongoing dramas of pain and suffering, don't keep plugging into it. Don't turn on the news, read the rotten newspapers of the morning. Just keep that space in your mind and heart to get your vibration in a place where you want. And when you're ready, of course, you look at what's going on in the world, but with the thought that behind that outside, there's a deep several layers behind it. Okay, don't hook into that outside part. Let's go to the middle astral plane. Middle astral plane, it's really interesting. It's called purgatory. We've heard that word before, haven't we, in our churches and our purgatory. This is so important. People go to the purgatory to purge themselves. They've earned the right to go a little bit higher. They know all their problems. It's very clear to them, the glamours and illusions, and they go there to clean them up. They have a chance to clean it up. That means there's a little bit of mind working already. There's a little bit of maturity working already. So you're not stuck with all the drunkards and the obsessive, hateful people. You can go to another layer and you can purge yourself, clean yourself. Isn't that beautiful? So that chance is given to us to purge, to clean out. Those who have lived a life full of toxicity and also developed a consciousness where they can see their mistakes, go to that level so that they can clean up, and on their return they can come back with a little more refined, a little more scrubbed clean consciousness. Now let's go to the higher astral plane. So that's just the middle. Let's go to the higher astral plane. All right, what's in the higher astral plane? Page 78. I love this. The bottom of the page. Let me read that middle section first. See where it says we must remember? We must remember that all our endeavors to help their souls will be directed especially to those who were caught in the network of vices. Okay? So all our prayers, all our meditations can be directed to this. Those who are advanced souls can also be helped by advanced subjective teachers. The immediate need, though, is to release the enslaved souls in the lower strata and let them proceed on the path. Okay, we want them to proceed so they don't come back with that same vibration stuck on them from being stuck in a plane that they shouldn't be in. So what is in the higher astral plane? We get a little bit better in the higher astral plane. Goody-goody and harmless people. Okay? It's nice. You're pure, you're clean. Romantic lovers. Innocent people. Nature lovers. Peacemakers. Isn't that beautiful? Peacemakers. Art lovers. Artists dedicated to beauty. Look at this. Joyful people. Philanthropists. Those who want to use any opportunity to serve others. This is where we go to the higher astral plane. It's a beautiful place. And look at page 79. Of course, this plane is full of pleasant glamours of all kinds. In this plane, people have difficulty realizing that all that is going on there is Maya, or elusive phenomena. So as nice as this feels, don't think you're going to sit there forever. You need to move on. Now let's move on then somewhere else that is really, really interesting, called Deva Khan or Deva Khan. It's Deva, C-H-A-N, and Deva means luminous beings, beings of light. Khan means the abode of. Okay, that's in a Central Asian language. It means the abode of, or the house of. You've heard the word Khan, right? K-H-A-N. That's what it means. Now, what is it? This is so interesting that I did a little research, and I want to give it to you before we finish up this lecture today. And you can find information in Treatise on Cosmic Fire and in the letters from Mahatma letters to A.P. Sinnett. And in some of the Theosophical writings, you'll find some information about this. But what is Devachan? It is a place in the higher worlds where souls can go after they leave the higher astral plane. Okay? It's somewhere in the middle here. They can go there from the mind or the higher astral plane. It's a place of vacation and rest. Okay. Astral body is left behind and burned. By the way, we want to leave bodies behind. We want to jettison them and get rid of them. And what happens when a soul leaves and the astral body is not immediately burned? That's where you get all the channels and mediums talking to these astral shells. We'll go into more details on this. So what we want is to have enough fire in us, okay, enough fire that when you make that transit, the body left behind is burned off. You don't want to leave it vacated for anything or anybody else. Okay? So it's really important. Look what it is, detachment. Detachment. I'm not attached to my emotional body. I'm not attached to anything. That if you have that in your mind, you'll keep going to the higher worlds. So astral body is left behind and burned, no longer needed. The mental body is now used as a vehicle to go to the Devachan. Souls can also go to Devachan from the middle mental plane as well. Okay, so whoop, you could go this transit, go to this Devachan. It is a state of consciousness where only unity is felt, a blissful place. You think, oh, I want to go there, but not yet. Let me tell you why. It is merited by individuals who really want to go there, and they can go there. But look at what it said. Tibetan Master says, this is so interesting. When life of the personality has been full and rich, philanthropists, art lovers, great humanitarians, okay, when life of the personality has been full and rich, but not yet reached a state where the personal self can consciously cooperate with the soul. Okay, this is really important. I want you to think about this, especially if you're reading the book Initiation. Okay? Periods of personality nirvana are undergone. Okay, your personality, you go, oh, I need that vacation. I need that. So this is undergone. Their length of stay, depending upon the interest of the life and the ability of the person to meditate upon experience. Okay, so if that mind, the higher mind, is not completely formed, you can meditate a little bit and say, I want to go and get a rest. But if your higher mind is really working, you might say, there's no time for that. Do you see that little switch happens? Now, nobody's judging. You want to go to Devachan, you can. Nobody's judging. If that's where we want to go, that's where we go. Later, when the soul dominates the personality life, the interest of the person is raised to the higher levels, and the nirvana of the soul becomes his goal. Okay, whatever that means. He has no interest in Devachan. Those on the path probationary or initiation, those who are definitely on the path, you say, I am going toward my purpose, toward my destination. I don't want to play around anymore. You make that decision, you do not, as a rule, go to Devachan. Okay? But immediately incarnate with conscious cooperation of the human soul or solar angel. Okay? Because you have experienced, you know, I'm going to have to come out of that resort at some point. And so you think about that. What is Mahatma letters? These are great letters written by either Master Morya or Master Kudhumi to a disciple of the Theosophical Society in the early days. And he says, the human soul, a purified, holy, innocent being with preponderance of good over evil in the old personality, okay, in the old life, is able to go to Devachan. The karma of evil steps aside for the time being. This is really important. Karma is not erased. It steps aside. It says, okay, I'll wait for you outside the door to allow a period of rest, in quotation marks. But karma will still be faced in future incarnations. The human soul will still have to face karma. Okay? All who have not slipped down into the mire of unredeemable sin, bestiality, go to Devachan. Okay, unredeemable. So look at how beautiful it is. We always have a chance to be redeemed. Okay? Still have to pay karma, but for the time being, they're rewarded by receiving the effects of the causes produced earlier. Okay? Think in one lifetime how much karmic debts we create. and how many lifetimes we need to reduce them and erase them. So a rest can't be taken too long. Got work to do. So think about that. No pain, no grief, nor even the shadow of a sorrow comes to darken the bright horizon of his unalloyed happiness. You think, God, I'd like that once in a while. For it is a state of perpetual Maya. You don't see reality, since the conscious perception of one's personality on earth is but an evanescent dream that sense will be equally that of a dream in Devachan. So it's like your life is like a dream, and you just go, I want to go to this place of rest. I deserve it, and you do. You're able to do that. Do you like that? Let me just summarize these topics. You can see from the lowest plane to the higher astral plane. We start with addicted, attached, hurtful, separative. Psychopaths start the journey here, and it gets a little bit more refined and refined and refined. And as we refine ourselves, we can find ourselves in the company of those same beings. Of course, we want to be in the company of wonderful, sane beings. Now, you can go to purgatory for a little short time and clean up your act. It's like a place of service and doing good and cleaning up. Or you can go to Devachan. Devachan, purgatory I thought about as a psychic detox program. You check into the detox program in a rehab center, and you go through the process of detoxing. Okay? That's what it is. But Devachan is a beautiful and expensive 5-star resort where everything you need is given to you. Fantastic food, fantastic service. Your bed linen is changed every day. The beautiful flowers and the birds and the swimming pool. You know very well when those 10 days are over, you still have to go back to work. I thought about this. I'm walking in the desert and I'm thinking, how do I describe Devachan? I thought, 5-star resort. Who doesn't want to go there? Of course. But in your mind, that's not life. You know that. But that's what Devachan is. All our karma is going to wait for us. You still have to pay it. But life is so beautiful that when you deserve a rest, life will give you a rest if that's what you want. It's up to you. So these are the basic teaching for this first hour. And remember, whatever you do in your life, whatever you imbue your life with, every minute you are able to click in or log in to those different levels of consciousness. And what you want to do is find out clearly, where is your target, where do you want to go, and start changing and building the bodies that will take you to places where you want to go and be able to sustain that place. And if you want to be a server, an invisible helper that we'll talk about in the next hour, then you will have to create and bolster the bodies that will take you to places that is not ordinarily recommended for people, but you are able to go to those places and do acts of service for souls who need to be released, who are ready. Maybe somebody's here and they go, I understand my mistakes, I need a little help now. Take me through, and you're able to take them to a place where they can go through a detox program. Okay, so we do this in a physical life. We also do it in the higher worlds, where you take people to places where they can correct themselves and help themselves. Isn't that beautiful? So let's close our eyes now and try to, I like at the end of each hour, because there's a lot of information, take a minute and just think about something that was contained in this lecture that you really resonated with, that you would like to just commit to your mind, summarize in your mind, and maybe something that you want to tell somebody in the higher worlds right now from what you learned. Okay? Rub your hands together. We're going to take a little break, but if you want to continue with this thought process, stay quietly in your chair and continue the thought process as you feel moved to it. Okay, thank you.